Good morning, beautiful souls. I'm your host, Angela Ahimsa, and you're tuned in to Feed Your Chakras, which is broadcasting from Toronto and streaming globally on Jess TV, Roku, Meta, and the NCG television network. Today's guest is Transcendent. She is a multidimensional guide, a lucid dreamer, a frequency transmitter, and whose work bridges the realms and timelines, awakens remembrance, and activates the soul's innate power to choose and create reality. Through her interdimensional awareness, she transmits messages for the collective and weaves quantum insights with divine downloads, and she anchors them into this embodied form and translates it through her work, which she shares on YouTube. And her work invites us to see light as the archive, awareness as the activator, and reality as the mirror reflecting our deepest truths. I'm so honored to have her on here. I'm a huge fan of hers on YouTube. And today's conversation, we're going to explore the pathways of remembrance, the role of free will in shaping aligned timelines, and the art of collapsing realities into form. From astral journeys to collective starseed transmissions, Transcendent offers a lens into what is meant to embody the soul star chakra and to live as a multidimensional being in human form. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Angela, for having me and that wonderful introduction. That was so beautifully articulated.
Oh, it's beautiful. So if you have not followed her on YouTube, and this is the first time you're hearing, her channel is called Transcendent Tarot. And what particularly drew me to her and her style was how she does she does lucid dreaming and goes astral traveling and tunes into the collective, especially starseeds or light workers, and she transmutes these codes and synchronicities and everything that happens around her, and she has this beautiful way of articulating down to a T. And I've resonated so deeply with her messaging that I even bought a reading off her one time. It's the only person I ever felt called to do that. So I'm sure that you're going to get a little insight into all of that today, but I'm just so excited to have her here. Okay, so let's just begin with the basics. How do you sense when you do this astral travel and these downloads, how do you sense which timelines or realities are ready to be bridged for the collective or for a particular client if you're doing a reading?
With the astral travels, to be able to discern them, if I'm working with a particular client or I'm working with just collective energies in general, it definitely requires me going, well, first it's almost like you treat it like a ceremony, right? They call sleep the cousin of death. So it does require a level of preparation, especially when it comes to training lucidity, and you go into the realm with an intention. So if anyone, no matter where it is that they are on their, evolutionary journey as a soul, when you transition between these realms, if you go in with an intention, you will come back and anchor and retrieve certain information that is going to answer what that question may be. It will reflect what that intention is, and that could come through a series of different kind of ways that it could be depicted, whether that's symbolism, whether that's interactions. It's something that will make itself known to you, and it's a language of the universe. Usually it is going to be depicted to you in a way where your soul is able to actually decode what those messages are. So it's all about intention, going into the astral realm with an intention and being able to discern the interactions and timelines that you're entering into.
Okay, because that was my next question. How do you discern between what's a message for the collective or your personal projection? Just that intention, or?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It does require lucidity in general, not just in the astral realm, but you can also take that question that you've had and apply that into your third dimensional experience. Can you discern between where you're projecting and also are you coming into that neutral 0 point, right? That state of awareness where you may go through internally the full range of human emotion and you're here to feel it, but can you come back to that place of neutrality? Are you able to actually properly discern the information? right? Are you able to actually utilize and tune this finely tuned instrument to be able to essentially distinguish what is yours and also what is something that is revealing itself to you that's also part of the cosmos. It's taking almost like it's a bigger part to play in the cycles, you know. It's a very, very interesting one. It's usually things that you're working through in your third dimensional experience, and if you're going into the astral realm with that clear intention, and also you're doing that work on a daily basis in training lucidity in your third dimensional experience, and you're not falling asleep as you move through this construct, even in this dream, right? This is just a third dimensional dream that we're moving through. So how aware of that are you? And is that your state of homeostasis? You know, how many times are you forgetting yourself? How many times are you forgetting the true nature of this existence? Are you really able to see that clearly? Because then you're able to see that situation through the lens of the soul as pure energy. You're not taking things personally, and you're able to maintain those, you know, proper energetic boundaries.
Okay, so the other day, I feel like I haven't really been trained in astral travel or lucid dreaming. I dream awake. Like I have a huge imagination. I'm very creative, and I think that is, you know, my manifestations. But the other day, I was really, really tired, and my friend Catherine was coming over. She was actually a guest 2 weeks ago, and I haven't seen her in so long, and she actually channels too. But I just wanted to lie down, and I'm a huge power napper. I love naps. And so I went into I almost fell asleep, but I wasn't quite there. And it was really interesting because I believe I was lucid dreaming, because I actually didn't really go in with an intention, but I did have something that was on my mind, or at least in my energy. And I saw something from somebody else's perspective. And I saw almost like what they were doing. Would that be a lucid dream? Or is it always from your own perspective? Yeah, it's like I saw somebody else's, I saw somebody else's perspective and like their actions. You know, like I saw what they were doing. So it's like I saw things from their perspective.
You saw it in third person?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. So it's like I saw it from their point of view.
Okay, what's the question?
I was just wondering, is that lucid dreaming or what was that? I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I have loads of experiences like that as well, actually. And most of the time, I'm glad you brought that up, because most of the time when I am working with collective energies, it's not actually me in first person that's experiencing those things. It's almost like I'm remote viewing certain collective timelines and themes. And that's the main way that I'm able to kind of distinguish them. I'll see somebody else's storyline kind of play out in that specific timeline, and it won't be me. It will be someone else that I'm kind of observing and taking notes of what's going on in that person's reality. It is almost like you're viewing it from a higher level of awareness, and you have this aerial perspective where you can see the full kind of landscape of events that are about to unfold in their life before they're even aware of it. So it's a very different vibe. Lucidity really comes from really being able to become just aware and kind of question the things that you're seeing in that realm, because that's how you get to apply your free will. Once you have that level of conscious awareness, you begin to behave very differently, right? Once consciousness begins to observe itself, it begins to ask questions in that particular scene and setting, like you had with your friend that you were kind of observing, that you wouldn't think otherwise, right? Otherwise you're just kind of a passive observer of what's going on.
Yeah. Well, that's what I felt like. It felt like I was a passive observer, but I was seeing things and feeling them too. I was just like, okay, this is new. But I do see things a lot. And for me, I'm just learning now to use more of my discernment and realize that maybe it's not imagination, you know what I mean? Because I'm actually tuning in more to my intuition as it gets stronger. But since you are so tapped in, and I saw on your show the other day, you mentioned that you actually experienced temporary blindness. And this is when it not only heightened your other senses, but heightened your third eye. And all the clairsentience that you have and clairvoyance. Can you just explain a little bit about that? Because I find it fascinating.
Yeah, so with that experience,
What happened
It was
anyways that caused the blindness?
I had an issue with my retina and a vast, very powerful like glimpse of light, and it was okay during that day. And then when I went to sleep and I woke up, I completely had, I forget what it's called now, but it's literally a problem with your retina. So the whole central
Okay.
point of my vision was basically blanked out. It was invisible. You couldn't really see anything. You could just look at things through the peripheral vision. So that was something that I felt immediately upon like waking up. And one that happened, it was a huge adjustment process. So I had to zoom out enough to the point where something that felt chaotic at the time, something that felt like it was out of my control, was something I was able to observe from a higher level of awareness. I was able to kind of change the way that I was thinking about the situation. I had to zoom out to the point where the storm became a speck, right? Until I recognized and remembered that sometimes these experiences download into our third dimensional reality because they're in benefit for the soul's evolution and what we need at that point in time and that time and space. So I had to begin to, really question what was that. And sometimes life isn't pushing you away from anything, but it's pulling you inward. And that was a time where I was definitely being called to go inwards. So it was being able to really integrate the higher self into the body and begin to navigate this path with unconditional love around, I'm going to accept myself unconditionally, no matter what it is that I'm going through. And I had to ask myself the question, how would my higher self navigate this challenge, right? It's almost like you are a soul incarnated into this physical vessel. Now there's certain implications or hardships that you're experiencing within the vessel. Well, let's love it back into health, right? We're all replenishing, rejuvenating organisms of consciousness connected to this healing source, right, within us. So how can we begin to anchor in that healing energy and begin to kind of restore what was lost? So yeah, it was very, very interesting. And the answer really does lie with going within. So I knew I was walking myself back in time, step by step, to just witness the lessons that I had encoded into the experience during that time. And that was going to assist me with remembering that I can heal myself. To heal is to integrate. To integrate is to become whole with the soul. Even though my two eyes to look were, impaired temporarily, as everything in this experience, my vision to see, really, really opened up during that time. So it was really being able to kind of regulate the nervous system during that time where I lost my vision. The world kind of dissolved into pure energy. Faces began to disappear, and every face became just like a mirror. It was like I was speaking to other reflections, extensions, and expressions of myself. My day-to-day schedule remained the same. All that changed was the way that I was thinking, was the way that I was feeling, and ultimately the way that I was relating to this experience, right? It changed the experience in the way that I experience everyday life and move through this existence on a daily basis, simply because I can no longer see it the same, simply because my thoughts had shifted, right? I was emotionally relating to my journey on earth from a complete different way, right? I was kind of relating it from the soul itself. So yeah, it was very, very interesting. It was no longer about what I could see, you could say, but about the things that I no longer could, right? I could no longer see the illusion of separation between me and another. This is me and this is you. There was no more compartmentalizing, um, like what it is that we are here to experience as far as duality and polarity goes and contrast. So every interaction became an energy exchange, and being able to kind of discern what energy exchanges felt good to me, right? My other senses began to heighten as I lost my vision. I was focusing on what I was feeling, right? What timelines felt good to me during that time. I was focusing on things that I was foreseeing. And through that subjective lens, I was able to move through this harmony, move through this construct, paying attention to what felt like it was harmonious to me, right? So yeah, it was very interesting because not every fractal of awareness is totally conscious of itself, and you're able to see that as you engage and interact with those around you. But you see every energy being as pure light. we're all sourced for from that same wisdom, and learning to return to that wisdom once again. So
Mm-hmm.
you can actually find and return to that internal harmony amongst the contrast. So it was really just being able to kind of navigate these different timelines. You know, I was foreseeing with my third eye, is your consciousness traveling far beyond the anatomical physical vessel, going out into the quantum field and kind of surfing through the illusion of time, which is distance between just two events, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to collapse time during that period in my life, and how to actually physically embody that and practice that. So, for example, I was deciding if I wanted to tell those around me what had happened, or if I just wanted to go on as, you know, normal and not share this piece of information, because I understood something. I knew it was going to take time, which is the distance between two events, and more change to happen down the timeline for my mind to understand what my soul understood about this experience I would go through. And I decided not to share that information because I was foreseeing those events with my mind, with my imagination, right? It's like you're learning how to trust that. And you can bring that information and anchor that into the present moment and choose if you want to say yes to this thing, if you want to share this thing, if you do not, right? What it is that you want to say yes or no to. So yeah, I learned that I didn't need perfect conditions to feel whole in that moment. I could anchor harmony within me regardless what was going on in my external, you know, world, no matter what it is that I was experiencing when it comes to my life on earth. And that's where healing
Mm-hmm.
happens, you know, it's where you're able to become one with that truth. So yeah, kind of navigating everyday life with the vision of the soul. But yeah, do you have anything like specific
No,
that
I
you want
just,
to
because
touch
that
on?
to me, like, first of all, most people in that situation, in that like tower moment, where everything
Yeah.
just seems to be lost, and you could literally go in two paths. You could go down the victim mentality and despair, or choose the higher. And you not only just chose the higher, you fully embodied true alignment and navigated the field. She, like she said, she couldn't even see. She didn't say it today, but she was still working and doing tarot readings without vision. So just even doing that, when you're blind, it heightens your other senses. And so she was not only tuning into them, but because she was choosing such alignment and so much faith, which is crown chakra, she superseded that. And that's why we're here at the soul star chakra today. So I think that's so beautiful. And you're very clairsentient, clairaudient, clair everything basically. Do you have one sense that you kind of receive or tune into, or is it just kind of however the messages come through to you when you kind of?
Um, I don't really label it, to be honest with you, but I would say probably clairaudience has always been very, very strong. Like if you watch my readings or just messages that I have in the moment, I'm always like, I hear. I
Yeah.
didn't notice until other people pointed it out. But I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
hearing. But really, that's just intercommunication with your higher self, and that's an octave of yourself existing at a higher level of understanding, and it's within you. You know, it's not something externally. Um, but yeah, there's always just like a clear knowing. I would say all of them are pretty um, like developed, and they'll come through at different points in time. Um, but yeah, there's always just been that clairaudient essence, and it is that silent voice within you that
Mm-hmm.
you come back to. It is that internal cosmos, you know, that tells you everything is going to be okay, even in those moments of chaos. It's within that inner still sanctuary, and you know that space between the two events is the unknown, and that's what the ego can fear. You know, I definitely felt
Mm-hmm.
fear rising up within my vessel during that time, and I allowed myself to feel that. But alchemy is really being able to say, okay, well, what's the opposite emotion? It's, you know, love. So how can I unconditionally kind of first of all accept what when you accept a situation, it instantaneously neutralizes the energy, and then you're able to, you know, again kind of regulate the emotional body, discern the situation, see that your emotions are actually showing you a piece of information. So maybe that's where you try to control the external, and what it does is teaches you detachment. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
space between those two events, where the event had happened and where I'd overcome it, was not punishment. It was something that allowed the soul to begin to explore, to integrate, and to remember. And that expanded view and version of myself already existed. You know, it's being able to see the gift of any challenge and being able to trust the path ahead of you without seeing the full map, right? Knowing that you are moving towards something that already exists within the quantum field. It's not out of reach. So yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Okay, so
It's
my
holding
next
space for
question
yourself.
is on behalf of all star seeds and people awakening to their gifts. Because I actually, as I mentioned, I'm very intuitive and I receive, sometimes it's visual downloads, sometimes I hear things too. And I never really knew how to discern it before, but I noticed that the more that I tune in and trust it, it's getting stronger. But I would really like to develop my gifts. So what practice or tools would you recommend for some of us who are trying to strengthen this connection to our third eye or soul star chakra and to receive this interdimensional guidance more easily and effortlessly?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is to be able to hold space and spend time with yourself. It's already within you, you know, that's a lot of a lot that has lain
Like
dormant
clearing the
within the human.
distractions of the third dimension.
Yeah, it already lies dormant within you. You know, your infinite potential, your fully expanded version of yourself, everything that you want to be able to, let's just say, grow into, is within you. Oftentimes, what it is that we need to kind of dismantle and begin to discard is never really changing who we are at our pure essence, which is just energy, okay, is just light. It's about dismantling everything whom you are not, everything that you were taught to be, everything that you were taught to believe. It's not really about learning to do anything. It's about unlearning everything that you have learned from this construct, right? When it comes to doubting that innate voice within you, right? It's really about being able to go through this journey of trusting yourself. And sometimes we learn what intuition sounds like at moments where we're able to look back at a reference point and see what had occurred in our life as a result of not listening to that gut instinct. I'm sure we all have that kind of experience that we've, you know, gone through during our space-time travels, and we learn through experience. You're able to recover that wisdom through that experience, and really being able to work with that same voice, distinguish and acknowledge that same voice, whatever it may be for you. It's really about going within and seeing what belief systems are kind of blocking or disrupting your
Okay.
ability to see yourself clearly for all that you already are, you know. And our gifts can become atrophied, right? What is within us can become atrophied. It's almost like a muscle. If we're not exercising it, then it will begin to kind of waste away. So all we're doing is really being able to kind of like isolate maybe a particular thing that you want to work on and just nurse it back to health, you know, really being able to see what the block is. That's what it is. It's always there, but what is the block that's disrupting you from really being able to trust yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
it's self-doubt that comes in.
Yeah, which is actually an energetic parasite.
Yeah.
Self-doubt. So, you've mentioned that reality is a mirror. What are some of the most surprising or powerful reflections that you've seen while working with others or within the field?
Yeah, it's as within, so without. So I think things have definitely evolved and they're always continuously evolving. We always have these different, I spoke about this the other day, where we have these different filters that we'll perceive reality through. And if we have a very imbalanced filter or chakra point that will kind of project a certain experience to us, and within this projection, there's an ecosystem filled with timelines, people, events, experiences that will mirror those same wounds or imbalances back to us. And when we recognize that, we are no longer judging or compartmentalizing or separating ourselves from another. We actually begin to see this person as a reflection of ourselves. Maybe somebody makes us feel uncomfortable, with our own truth. Maybe they're reflecting the parts of us that we judge within ourselves, the parts of us that we deeply repress or suppress. And once you're aware of what your wounds are and really being able to integrate them, then you can look at it from a healed perspective and healed lens. And that's where discernment comes in, because you're able to discern what is something that you maybe were in resonance with previously that had attracted you to a certain timeline of experiences, or let's just say a mirror or person. And once you've integrated that wisdom, there's almost a refraction mechanism that happens where you can absorb the information as you view it from a higher level of awareness. As you see what the resonant point is, if you can find out the resonance or the origin point, like, did you attract a person in your life based off of lack, right? Well, reality is going to download somebody into your third dimensional experience to reflect and mirror that to you, to see that you are already whole within yourself. All others are doing is giving you an opportunity to provide something that you think the external can do for you, but you're actually able to do for yourself. So usually it's those kind of mirrors that come up, but those mirrors come up through more karmic contracts when you're attached to the lessons of polarity and contrast and duality. But if you are able to anchor in higher levels of awareness, you're no longer just merely interacting with these mirrors. You're no longer just merely interacting with this matrix, but you are an outsider looking in, because you're viewing what another human is going through, and you're not judging somebody who may be cruel, because you recognize that all cruelty springs from weakness, right? You can see where anger may be fear in disguise, and you can see where somebody is choosing love or somebody is choosing fear, and you're also able to see where do you choose love and where do you choose fear in your everyday experience and interaction. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so it's a lot of it is like, first of all, a lot of people don't reflect, which is a huge problem. And then, you know, if they do, there's really no accountability for some people. And then all of that comes from a higher state of consciousness. So if you're kind of on the path or trying to ascend, it really comes into that acknowledgement that everything really is you creating everything. How would you say for somebody who's you know, practicing awareness and tapping into their higher consciousness, if they are trying to, you know, do some of this intergalactic travel, astral travel, how do they not get lost in the cosmic? And how would they stay rooted in this multi-dimensional awareness in their bodies and everyday lives without bypassing the human experience when they're trying to kind of navigate into this multi-dimensional realm like you do?
Yeah, so multidimensionality is, first of all, dimensions are not just spatial concepts, right? That's what the brain is formatted to believe, and our logical mind. They're frequencies that we can attune into, which means that you standing or sitting in this one place that you are right now, you're existing in many different dimensions. You're shape shifting through many different frequencies of yourself. And it's really being able to discern what frequency of yourself is viewing and is present at any given moment in time. What lens are you interpreting reality through? Is it through maybe an imbalanced root? Are you seeing a lens through fear, right? Is that activating the amygdala, the fight or flight response within the brain? Is that an unregulated nervous system? Do you feel unsafe within your body? Well, the next step would be able to begin to bring your awareness back into your body, right? That usually happens every time we are not within the present moment. That can happen whenever we're kind of reliving or recycling through experiences of the past. And oftentimes it's not about trying to, there's like a quote that says, it's not about escaping this world, it's about seeing through the illusions of it clearly. And there's always going to be contrast. There's actually going to become more contrast in this realm. We're going to experience and basically observe more duality happening, but we are able to remain neutral. We're able to remain grounded, so that no matter what's going on outside of us, we can regulate our nervous system. We can view it from a cosmic standpoint. We can see the cosmos within the chaos, a secret ordering to what may appear to be disorderly. We are all fractals of a consciousness and awareness going through our own cycle of evolution, and we each have a part to play in the cosmos. There is a harmony that is being sustained, right? Even as you said, like within the mirror, you can choose to mirror another individual's wounds back to them, or you can become sovereign and mirror a different example, right? You can fight fire with fire and maybe respond with anger, but don't you see that you responding with anger because you feel maybe misunderstood by a situation is a reflection of where somebody doesn't understand themselves yet, and maybe it's a reflection of where you need to deeper understand yourself and the true nature of this you know, maybe mirror that you're experiencing. But yeah, when it comes to high dimensional awareness or, you know, navigation, it really is something that you can anchor into your body now. You can ask yourself, okay, what are higher quality of thoughts I can think about this same situation? There are many different angles that you can think about a situation in regards to, right? You can feel about a situation in multiple ways, in multiple dimensions, right? Each emotion is a frequency. It's all organized by frequency, by dimension. So as soon as you allow yourself to exercise that, yeah, exactly. That is you being multidimensional. That is you traveling, you know, through you being an interdimensional being and being able to experience more than one emotion, being able to experience more than one way of thinking about something, more than one way of feeling about something. And that's where your path to really alchemy lies, right? That pain and suffering is not a life sentence. It's raw materials to turn leaden situations into something that is a golden opportunity. You are here for soul growth, and the soul is growing rapidly through experiencing this contrast and being able to see it from that cosmic point of view, being able to see it from an unconditional point of love, which is just unconditionally accepting every body, every other extension and fractal of yourself, no matter where they are in the evolutionary journey, no matter if they want to take accountability, if they do not, right? Not everyone is ready to face their shadow, and it's about not infringing upon anyone, but actually being able to realize you're not here to change or impart anything on those around you. You are here to change the way that you navigate this experience. You hold a parasitic belief system within yourself if you for a second believe that your emotional state is dependent upon the thing that somebody does or does not believe, right? It's dependent upon anything that happens within the external. If that disrupts your internal state of harmony, that's you giving permission, even if it's unconsciously, for somebody to take you out of that state of cosmos, of the 0 point, right? So how can you bring yourself back into that place? Because you're here to experience that full range, but how can you return to that place of neutrality? And that's where your gift lies. That's where your awareness lies, right? Your awareness is your protection, right? Come back into the body. You are safe, you are secure, you are stable. Move grounded and rooted in this experience. Anchor so firmly down in the ground that nobody's absence or presence or anything that happens in the external stimuli will govern your internal state. It's your internal state that begins to govern the way that you interact with the external, because you're seeing through the illusions clearly. So it's not about going somewhere out there, right? These timelines are always playing out parallel to us anyway. It's about healing. It's about integrating. It's seeing that this version of yourself, the Arcturian, the Syrian version of yourself, all these different kind of star seed, you know, planetary star systems that you also originate from. You're not separate from those entities. They're experiencing life on Earth encoded through you. Okay, so it's like, what is the Syrian version of yourself? How would your higher self, you know, see the situation? How would this version of self navigate this challenge on Earth? You know, and there are multiple. So it's about kind of,
No, I like what you said there, that it's a frequency, because it's really important. I find a lot of spiritual people, you know, they're very attuned or functioning in their higher frequencies. They're high vibrational and they're operating up here. But it's really important, as you mentioned, we need to observe things and act with non-judgment and non-expectation, just kind of sovereign in that sense. But the heart chakra is the portal, the fourth dimension between the lower realms and the higher realms. But it's really important in order to do this work and still be able to function in this third dimension, and you know, tap into the quantum realms and all this stuff, to maintain the balance, because the imbalance or dis-ease is imbalance, right? And so we can't just be functioning up here and then have our lives in the 3D a complete disaster. So it's really important, especially for starseeds who do tend to kind of get up here a lot, really to make sure that you have that solid foundation and stability and stay grounded emotionally in the 3D, just so that you can actually be in that full vibrational frequencies and sustain it.
Yeah, and that heart alchemical point you mentioned is so crucial, because it's about you opening the heart space. When you do that and you extend compassion, not just to those around you, and you see if anyone truly is in an internal war within themselves, really it is those that do need it the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, if that compassion does not include yourself, it's not complete. This is about you being able to hold space for yourself, you unconditionally loving yourself despite what it is that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through that heart space that you actually begin to open and access your higher intuitive faculties. But you must first begin to hold space for yourself. You know, that's really what it comes down to.
I've been experiencing that, and the main thing is more just loving myself and expressing my boundaries in like a loving way, and just honoring myself. And as I'm shedding all of those kind of lessons, I've been doing this a lot lately, so I'm sure that a lot of the collective is probably going through something similar. But I've just noticed in doing that massive shifts right away. It's like the quantum leaps, basically, if we're going to use any other term. That being said, if there's people here who don't necessarily know what a starseed is, or they're spiritual but they haven't really kind of identified as a starseed, or they're just curious, can you just kind of explain what that is and just give us some breakdowns and examples so that people have an understanding?
Yeah, so I will break it down from the very beginning. Okay,
let's go. It sounds like a good place to start.
And I will just talk about this it's a deep topic, but I will talk about this very in a simplified form. So you had one source, right? One unified consciousness, and this was source that wanted to experience itself. It's like a huge electrically charged gas that wanted to experience itself. So it split itself into two dualistic aspects. You had the feminine and you had the masculine. These then created the plethora of different kind of species that we have, right? This is source fractalizing itself into infinite states of awareness, okay, experiencing itself through countless life forms. So we have within this universe, we have earthlings, right? And we've manifested through the natural law of this physical environment where we have gravity in this realm. And then you also have other universes where, there were other big bangs. This is like the multiverse kind of theory, where you have Arcturians that look a very specific way due to them being manifested due to the natural laws of that physical environment or that frequency, right? That vibration, or different kind of realms and densities. So you have all of these different kind of subdivisions. Source, the one, right? Origin point, experiencing itself as infinite life forms, infinite, beings in all different kind of realms, different kind of mediums. And within all of us, we have this memory, okay? Within the center of our cell, we hold the nucleus, which holds the DNA. DNA is more non-physical, it is more multidimensional. That's like the junk DNA that they talk about. Then physical, we only have 2% of the proteins actually right in the code for what it is that we experience in this physical realm. And, this is us essentially encoded with this information. We're encoded with the memory of everything happening everywhere all at once. This is about simultaneous lives that are playing out, parallel lives that are playing out and impacting each other. So that's really what star seeds are. This is about the memory of yourself existing through an entity that's not separate from you, because we all originate from the same source point. So I don't really play to the part where we're just completely compartmentalizing ourselves of I am only this or I'm only that, because from our origin point, just talking very quickly about it, we all are sourced from the same wisdom. We're all children of light and returning back to our formless nature before we return back to the light, which is remembering ourselves as more non-physical, remembering ourselves as energy beings, right? And, Earth is one of the most dense planes that we will incarnate into. So it's easy to fall asleep, right? It's easy to fall into this human amnesia. But when consciousness begins to kind of wake up and ask questions about this construct, you will begin to remember your celestial origins. You will begin to remember yourself as being more non-physical. The higher dimensions we go, right, the more non-physical things become, until we come back into that point of just pure light. So it's like we're recovering and remembering ourselves, right? Remembering yourself is to remember that you expand and extend far beyond this matrix. You extend and expand far beyond this construct that you're existing in when it comes to your experience on Earth. So yeah, that memory lies within you. That is literally dormant within your DNA, waiting to be remembered. And that weight can almost be, relieved, right? That repression and suppression of the memory can begin to become expanded the more that we kind of clear up the belief systems, which are just thoughts that have been reinforced again and again, that have created a lot of stagnation within our field and within us, that have kind of kept the feminine repressed, right? In this realm of duality, we're experiencing the masculine, which is the physical, and the feminine, which is the non-physical aspect of ourselves. Once we unify these two forces, then we master creation in this realm. We master our mind, we master our emotional state, right? The way that we think about this construct, the way that we feel as we move through this construct, we will have mastery over matter, right? So it's this is what we're moving through, and that's what you'll master all realms of matter. Yeah, but hopefully, is there anything specific that you had there? I just kind of generalized it.
That's okay. It was a pretty loaded question, so I think you summed it up pretty nicely. So like the amnesia that we're all experiencing collectively as humans is part of the soul journey. And so for all of us forgetful humans, if you could offer us one frequency of remembrance or energetic transmission to those listening right now, what would it be?
Encoded within you are many different quantum non-local connections of yourself. As you remember that you are non-physical, as you remember yourself as an energy being, by clearing up belief systems that have distorted the way that you see yourself, the way that you see those around you, and the way that we move through this existence, you will naturally ascend into a high octave and flush out anything that you've adopted that you no longer want to hold on to, whether these are ancestral beliefs, whether these are ancestral, whatever you want to call them, generational wounds. You will pull forward, you become the portal. Your DNA is the portal to all dimensions across space and time, to pull forward your generational lineage through your own ascension journey, through ascending, which is just applying higher level or quality of thoughts, right? Applying higher octaves of thoughts in the way that you think about yourself, in the way that you think about those around you, and the way that you think about life on Earth. You also simultaneously pull forward your starseed lineages, you pull forward and heal the collective as you focus on your own subjective journey.
Beautiful.
Key is your awareness, and to anchor your awareness back into the body and how powerful you really are. Hopefully. Yeah.
That's well said. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we tune off today? Any guidance, downloads?
Did you want to talk about alchemy, or do you think that we touched on that already?
No, you can share something that you feel called to touch on.
All alchemy is being able to take leaden experiences and turn them into gold. Being able to see the value, even if it's hard at the time for the human, and see it through a healed lens. Alchemy, and how we know we've integrated an experience truly, is being able to look back at a situation and it no longer emotionally disrupt us in the way that it once did. Our emotional state is not dependent upon the external. We can extract the wisdom from these experiences. Our awareness is no longer scattered across timelines of the past, timelines within this matrix. Your pure creative life force seated in this physical vessel. Every time you engage or interact with those around you, your light can become scattered or diluted. This is about you calling back your life force from everything, from technology you've engaged with, from other humans that you've interacted with. Call your awareness back into your body and every single piece of you, and no longer attached to the characters that have played parts in your stories, the stories that have played out themselves. Sometimes we become so fixated upon what has happened, when sometimes the invitation is to be able to see it from the lens of the soul. Don't take situations personally, but see them as just pure vibrational energetic exchange. The amount of value an experience has is determined with the amount of life you want to exchange with it. How much life do you want to feed into a situational circumstance? Because that can be rechanneled elsewhere. This plane of existence can become a hell or heaven on earth, and it's a state of consciousness, not a location. So you can choose to continue these cycles of suffering, or you can choose to apply and anchor higher levels of awareness in the way that you experience, in the way that you feel, in the way that you move through existence. And as you integrate that information from your past, you will also heal that version of yourself. You can also show up for yourself in ways that a previous version may have not. So yeah, you will see the true nature of this cosmic overlay, and those lessons weren't meant to break you. It was meant to bring you back to your light, to the truth. So yeah, it's all part of the design.
Exactly. So basically alchemy happens when you use that portal of the heart chakra and you're transmuting the lesson, because everything is a lesson and things don't happen to us, they happen through us or for us, and kind of realizing it. And also, like you mentioned, the gratitude is a really good way to transmute it. And when I'm transmuting or dealing with something that is, you know, very heavy or emotional, I channel that energy by doing something productive and something that's good for me, that's going to give back to me. And I find that that's the best way to do it, because it's self-love.
I just did a reading on that, before this, and that exact message came out.
Yeah.
Angela,
I love it.
Exact message of being
We're always a little aligned.
to focus on what makes you feel connected to yourself during that time. That's what it is. Sometimes it's that how you connect with the heart space is connection, you know. Sometimes when we feel that pain or we feel lower octave emotions, all we're missing is that connection. That reconnection with ourselves allows us to extend deeper compassion for ourselves, and then we begin to see the interconnectedness in all things, and how sometimes those painful moments become portals.
They crack the heart open so the light can get in.
Exactly. And that's where you can anchor your higher self into those most challenging moments, right? So to sit with that emotion and supply yourself the opposite feeling. You know, if you feel lack, well, do something that makes you feel whole. You know, how does it feel to be infused with that wholeness within yourself? It's a game of polarity that you're playing here, right? It's a game of the illusion of separation
and consciousness, because energy flows where attention goes. So you can focus on the lack or focus on creating and the joy that brings.
It will begin to quantify. It will begin to if you feel confused about what the situation is, well, focus on what brings you clarity, you know, focus on the things that you are clear on, and muddy waters will clear themselves, you know. After your emotions begin to kind of subside, the information will come forth in regards to what the purpose was for that experience. It takes time, you know. We will experience more change on the timeline sometimes to recover the clarity that we need, to recover the hidden Easter eggs that we had, you know, kind of like, you know, hidden for ourselves along the journey. But sometimes we have to look back 2, 3, 4 times, right? Go through the forest and we'll see something that we didn't see before. But, you know, that takes patience, is to really be patient with yourself. That healing is not linear. It's really a spherical model. You will come back to the same situations again and again and see them from a different level of awareness. And things will change because you have changed, right? And it's not necessarily things that change, but it's that you've changed. You change the way that you think about a situation. You think about the way that you change the way that you feel about it, and you change the way that you experience it, right? So you can even relive those moments from the view or the lens of the soul. You can see the same situation from the lens of the soul versus the lens of the wounded self. So it's a very, very powerful, again, you're a multidimensional being. There's multiple ways you can see, feel, and think about situations. Practice that. Stagnancy occurs when we kind of fixate on just one way of being. Change doesn't hurt. It's the resistance to changing it. Where do we attach to the suffering, right? Where do we attach to these self-created cycles that we move through? That resistance kind of locks us in also to a frequency where we will then begin to attract the same kind of experiences to us that mirror back those wounds, right? So we will keep recycling the same thoughts again and again, reinforcing the same belief systems again and again. The quantum field is a conscious being. It's always listening to what it is that you're transmitting and bringing back something in resonance, right? So you'll recycle those same energies, right? Even if that comes to the form of different bodies, until you understand what that origin point is. So that's the cycles of karma versus opening up a point of divergence, where you can step into a new dimension, which is just a new frequency, right? A new frequency of thought, a new frequency of emotion, a new frequency of embodiment, where new stories get to play out. You open up a new ecosystem of experiences that are vibrating in resonance with who it is that you are now, not who it is that you were, not the wounded version of yourself, the version that has integrated and healed those experiences. And that's where your power lies. That's really where your power lies, in your ability to be fluid. You know, to be fluid is begin to be detached in this experience. And that leaves you being a magnetic force, you know. You have a magnetic force field because you no longer have stagnant thought forms that are crystallizing and causing debris from you being able to have that connecting point to source, right? So yeah, that's what it is. Sometimes it can block our vision from being able to see things clearly. Emotions can cloud our vision, and that's the difference between emotion and discernment. Behind every emotion, there is our body trying to tell us something. Settle the emotion, and the information will reveal itself to you. It's the soul speaking to you through that energy, through that frequency and vibration. Can you filter it, you know? So that's self-trust, being able to navigate that. It's not that you're really navigating external factors, it's that you're navigating the feelings that you're going through, the thoughts that you're going through, and you're able to hold space for yourself in that process and return to that neutral standpoint. Yeah, that's really what it's about. But yeah, you know, I can go on for hours.
And this is why I love her. Okay, so anyways, thank you so much, Transcendent, for sharing your wisdom, your transmissions, and your deep devotion to lifting the human condition. Your work reminds us that we're more than just this present moment. We're more than just this body. We are light, we are awareness, and we're the creators of our realities. So to everyone tuning in, if today's conversation opened your heart, expanded your vision, or helped you remember more of who you truly are, I invite you to connect with Transcendent and explore her offerings, her tarot readings, her interdimensional guidance and collective messaging on her channel. Actually, she has two. One is Transcendent Tarot, and what is your other one?
Transcendent Travels. That's not active right now, but
Transcendent
Tarot will be
okay, well, whatever. You can go down there, check her out, and go down the rabbit hole into deeper levels of awareness. You have a little taste of all her amazing wisdom and her energy. And if this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe, and follow me, the Chakra Goddess, on Instagram, and follow for more conscious conversations and full spectrum nourishment for your mind, body, and soul. Until next time, stay open, stay luminous, and keep feeding your chakras. Peace, love, and infinite blessings.
Thank you.